Developing right now on Morning News Now, a stark ultimatum just hours before a ceasefire is set to end. President Trump warning Iran to negotiate a peace deal or, quote, see problems like they've never seen before. But Iran says it's ready if the war resumes and vowing to retaliate over the U.S. seizure of an Iranian cargo ship. Now, Vice President JD Vance set to head to Pakistan this morning for a new round of in-person talks. But will Tehran participate? And could the president extend the deadline? We will bring you an update. Also this morning, cabinet controversy. The Secretary of Labor stepping down amidst an investigation into allegations of misconduct. Meanwhile, FBI Director Kash Patel filing a $250 million lawsuit against The Atlantic over a story alleging that bouts of excessive drinking and erratic behavior have put his job on the line.
You want to attack my character? Come at me. Bring it on. I'll see you in court.
We'll take you to Washington for the latest. Plus, it's a silent struggle for millions of couples, and experts say the stigma of infertility could keep people from getting the care they need. We will separate fact from fiction and tell you what you should know if you're trying to conceive. And bad business, if you use AI in your 9 to 5, you may want to head back to the drawing board. Why researchers now say the technology could actually be working against you. Good morning. Thank you so much for kicking off your week with us. Actually, I guess it's Tuesday. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is off today. We're going to begin this morning with the latest out of the Middle East as that short-term ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran is set to end tomorrow. Vice President JD Vance is expected to travel to Pakistan today for a new round of peace talks with Iran. But Tehran's participation is still unclear. Iran's foreign ministry says no decision has been made on whether they will join this second round of negotiations since that temporary ceasefire began. Well, while their participation in these new talks is up in the air, Iran signals they are ready if the war resumes tomorrow, as their foreign ministry condemned the U.S. for seizing an Iranian-flagged cargo ship in the Sea of Oman, calling the move piracy and an act of aggression. Well, now they're demanding that the U.S. release the crew immediately for what they say is a clear breach of this temporary ceasefire deal. Well, U.S. officials, they said the Iranian ship was attempting to breach the U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz, and that they only seized the ship after 6 hours of repeated warnings. We have a team joining us this morning to talk through this pending ceasefire deadline and what to expect out of the Middle East in the coming days. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley kicks us off from Tel Aviv with the latest. Matt, good morning. So now, despite this uncertainty surrounding Iran's participation in possible peace talks, President Trump, he sounds positive that Tehran is going to negotiate. And he said if they don't, they're going to see problems like they've never seen before. How is Iran responding to President Trump's threats, including that he has threatened to strike power plants and bridges if they don't reach this longer-term peace deal?
Yeah, well, Savannah, I mean, all of that sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? We've been hearing about hitting power plants and other civilian targets for much of the last 6 weeks, and that was a threat that President Trump delayed at least 3 or 4 times. So it's unclear whether or not this latest ultimatum coming tonight is going to be delayed as well. Now, you asked how the Iranians are responding. Well, they said that they're not going to be committing to any negotiations under threat. They seem to characterize the U.S. posture as something like gunboat diplomacy. Now, this has been a consistent line of the Iranians ever since before this fight started with U.S. and Israeli attacks against Iran on February 28th. So they've always said that even with all of this American and Israeli firepower arranged at their doorstep, that they will not negotiate with a gun to their heads. Let's see if that actually goes through. The New York Times has said, quoting 2 Iranian senior officials, that there are, in fact, delegates on their way to Pakistan to participate in these talks, particularly since Vice President JD Vance is expected to attend.
And Matt, what is the latest on traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, including how the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports and then that seizure of an Iranian ship we mentioned is impacting Tehran's willingness to negotiate?
Well, look, as far as a blockade is concerned, this is very much an act of war, and the Iranians are treating it as such. The Iranians' main response, of course, is to blockade the strait as well. So now we have, once again, we're returning to double blockades on the Strait of Hormuz. It sounds as though traffic has been very, very limited, and it looks as though almost nothing has been getting through. The seizure of that Iranian vessel by the U.S. has been considered extremely inflammatory by the Iranians. They are demanding to get this back. And for them, again, this is the kind of act of war, the kind of gunboat diplomacy that they are rejecting. Whether they're going to be rejecting it tonight or tomorrow when these negotiations are set to be underway, that's another question entirely.
Matt, state media says Iran has not yet sent this delegation to Pakistan for these new rounds of peace talks. What can you tell us about the U.S. delegation that's expected to travel to Pakistan today?
Well, it sounds as though it's JD Vance who's going to be going, is likely to be with Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law, and President Trump's top diplomatic envoy, Steve Witkoff. Now, these three men are certainly going to be surrounded by some other senior officials. These remain the highest level set of negotiations that we've seen between Iran and the U.S. since the 1979 revolution that put the current Ayatollah regime in power. So these are high-level negotiations, but they're coming a little more than a week after J.D. Vance returned from Pakistan empty-handed. Whether or not things have changed, well, that's unclear. We now have what looks like an enduring ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. That could go a long way toward helping secure some sort of deal.
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you very much. Alex Vatenka, senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, joins us now for his expert analysis on this looming ceasefire deal. Alex, good morning. So, I mean, tensions between the U.S. and Iran, obviously, they've been high for weeks and months at this point. But this past weekend, it sort of feels like an escalation in some day, especially because we're just one day away from that 2-week ceasefire deadline. What do you think about where we're at with the potential of these conversations and what we've seen from the president by not backing off this U.S. blockade on Iranian ports once Iran, to an extent, opened up the strait?
Good morning, Susanna. Look, as we all know, this ceasefire was fragile from the very get-go. And President Trump's messaging on his social media account really didn't help. It sort of created... if you know this Iranian regime and if you study it, you know they're going to respond in kind. That's exactly what they did. So since Thursday, when we had the Iranian foreign minister first announce that the strait was open for business, and then the U.S. president said, that's fine, but the blockade on Iran remains, forced the Iranians to come back and say, actually, okay, all deals are off. So a lot of confusion in the last few days, but end of the day, I never really thought that the diplomatic track was kind of ending just because of the war of words and social media. Because fundamentally, the basic need for trying diplomacy has never really gone away.
Iran is vowing to retaliate against the U.S. after the Navy seized this Iranian flagship near the Strait of Hormuz, like we mentioned. Iran's foreign minister has said no decision has been made on whether they will participate or hold these new round of peace talks. Do you think a long-term peace is still possible? And what do you think that we see unfold over the next few hours as the vice president is expected to head back to the Middle East in just a matter of hours?
So, look, two things. First, I do think despite all the posturing, the language that, I was just before I came on looking at the latest sources in Iran, they're still saying they're not sure if they're going to send someone because we don't negotiate with, as Matt just put it, gun to our heads. That's their bottom line in terms of public messaging. It's important for them not to look like they are giving in to American president's demands. They have their own politics in Tehran to worry about. But end of the day, as we've heard from the Pakistani interlocutors, the Iranians are most likely going to send someone to Islamabad. Somebody could be as senior as what they sent last time around. I mean, the Americans are sending the vice president. Iran needs to keep that in mind as they think about who they should send. But that's the first one. Second point, look, in terms of what they're going to negotiate over, the most realistic thing for them to do is not to try and tackle everything in one go. They need to prioritize what's most important. It's the issue of the Strait of Hormuz. Is Iran not having a nuclear weapon? Is sanctions relief for Iran? You get those basics done, and then you go and have a broader conversation, which will take not days, not weeks, months, perhaps even longer. Because, Susanna, people forget, 47 years of bad blood takes time to fix it.
Do you think that the war has changed the dynamic of these negotiations? Because, of course, Iran and the U.S. were in some type of talks prior to this war starting, and then the president moved forward with it anyway. How has the war changed that dynamic? And if these conversations do happen this week, who has the upper hand, do you think?
So, you could make the argument that right now Iran has their upper hand because the United States and Israel attacked Iran. The aim was to topple the regime and fix the nuclear question once and for all. The regime didn't fall. The regime's still there. And that might begin, in some minds, be seen to give Iran the upper hand. Maybe that's legitimate. Look, the sort of way of looking at it, I think that's a mistake. I think it's a mistake. I think Iran doesn't have strong hand going forward. They've suffered immensely as a result of this war. It could happen to them again. So they have all the reason in the world to look at Donald Trump as someone they can potentially cut a deal with. Whether they like the man or not is irrelevant.
Thank you so much, Alex Vatanka, for joining us this morning. Well, in Washington, there's been another high-profile departure from President Trump's cabinet. The White House confirms that Labor Secretary Lori Chavez-DeRemer is leaving the administration to take a position in the private sector. Now, her resignation comes amid a months-long Inspector General investigation into allegations of misconduct against her and accusations of sexual assault against her husband. Chavez-DeRemer's attorney tells NBC News that her decision to leave was personal and, quote, not the result of legal wrongdoings. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us with more on this one. Megan, good morning. So now the third cabinet member here to either resign or be fired from the Trump administration during the president's second term. Turns out all of them are women. But tell us what we know about this investigation that the Labor Secretary was facing. What's the backdrop here?
Yeah, good morning. So this comes as the Labor Secretary had been facing an investigation by the department's Inspectors General office, and this had stemmed from a months ago complaint into her alleged behavior. Now, multiple top staffers had actually ultimately been swept up into this investigation as well, ultimately being placed on administrative leave and then resigning or leaving their posts ultimately. So there were two officials who had actually resigned earlier this year after allegations in a probe into potential travel fraud, basically alleging that the staffers had set up work events for the secretary as an excuse for personal travel. Now, the secretary had also faced an internal complaint alleging that she had pursued an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate as well. Now, as you mentioned, her attorney had said that this was not a result of any legal wrongdoing. He said that this was a personal decision. But another important piece of context here is that the Labor Secretary, as part of this probe, had been scheduled this week to sit down for an interview with the Inspector General's office as well. Now, this resignation, of course, means that comes before that will actually be able to happen. But we also heard from the Labor Secretary as well, pushing back against the allegations against her, her family, and her team that she said were peddled by high-ranked deep state actors who have been coordinating with the one-sided news media and continue to undermine President Trump's mission. Savannah.
Megan, I do want to ask you about something else here. Some people might have started seeing this online. It's been generating a lot of speculation, conspiracy theories. The FBI announced that it will investigate the seemingly potentially unrelated deaths and disappearances of at least 10 scientists and government workers over the last few years. It's something that caught the attention of President Trump last week. What are we learning? Who are these scientists and officials?
Yeah, so since 2022, there have been at least 10 scientists and government workers who have had connections to various government projects, including things like nuclear programs and NASA as well, who have died or who have disappeared. Now, the deaths and disappearances appear to be unrelated, but recently there's been speculation that they could somehow be connected. So the FBI says that they're going to look into that. They said that they're going to work with departments like the Department of Energy and the Pentagon as well. We also heard from a spokesperson from NASA who weighed in, saying in a post to X that at this time, nothing related to NASA indicates a national security threat, saying that the agency is committed to transparency. Now, some of this has been bubbling up a little bit as well since February, when retired Air Force Major General Neil McCaslin disappeared. Now, his wife had actually addressed some of this speculation that his disappearance could somehow have been connected to his previous job. And she said that his disappearance he had been retired from the Air Force for almost 13 years and said that, in her words, quote, it seems quite unlikely that he was taken to extract very dated secrets from him. But certainly a really interesting investigation to watch and see how it all plays out, Savannah.
And like I said, a lot of people talking about it online. Megan, one other thing I want to cover with you before we let you go. Another member of Congress is facing calls to step down. I'm talking about Representative Corey Mills of Florida. A fellow Republican, actually, Congresswoman Nancy Mace introduced a resolution yesterday to expel Mills over accusation that includes sexual misconduct. So far, he hasn't been charged with any crimes, but he's been facing pressure to leave Congress for months. And obviously, we've seen related events on the Hill in the past couple weeks. Is his job at risk here, and what is Mills saying about all this?
Well, there's a pretty high bar to actually expel a member of Congress. It would require 2/3 support instead of a majority, meaning that it would require several Republicans to sign on in addition to Mace. And it's unclear right now if there is that level of support to ultimately expel him. But Mace's resolution comes as the House Ethics Committee is investigating Congressman Mills into allegations of potential sexual misconduct, dating violence, and campaign finance violations. Now, Mills has denied any wrongdoing, and he's pushed back against Mace in several posts to X last night, criticizing her directly, saying in that post to X that Nancy wants you to believe she's fighting for you, but she's not. 1 minute she's MAGA, the next she isn't, calling her a hypocrite. And so we also heard yesterday from House Speaker Mike Johnson, who told reporters that House Republicans trying to expel each other is not something that he encourages. So it remains to be seen whether there is ultimately enough support to expel the congressman. All
right, Megan, thank you so much, covering a lot for us. Well, FBI Director Kash Patel is suing The Atlantic over a bombshell story it published last week alleging he drinks to excess and has had unexplained absences at the Bureau. Patel's attorneys say the story is a sweeping, malicious, and defamatory hit piece. Patel is seeking $250 million in damages. The Atlantic is standing by its reporting, saying that it will vigorously defend its journalists. NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell has the story.
A battle over reputation and reporting.
You want to attack my character? Come at me. Bring it on. I'll see you in court.
FBI Director Kash Patel filed a defamation suit seeking a staggering $250 million against the Atlantic Monthly Group after its April 17th story, citing anonymous sources, reported that bouts of excessive drinking and erratic behavior have put his job on the line. NBC News has not independently verified that reporting. The story claims on multiple occasions the director's security detail had difficulty waking Patel and states that a request was made late last year for breaching equipment to gain entry. Patel's lawsuit calls that claim pure fantasy and states that breaching equipment is provided to all FBI protection details. Patel had faced criticism for this moment when he partied with U.S. men's hockey, winning Olympic gold. He responded that he was extremely humbled to celebrate with the boys. In his lawsuit, the director alleges the Atlantic story contains false and fabricated information and that the publication did not include some of the FBI's responses before they went to print. The Atlantic, however, says this is a meritless lawsuit, and they say we stand by our reporting on Kash Patel.
All right, Kelly, thank you. Well, let's dig deeper into this brewing legal battle with NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas. Danny, good morning. Always great to have you. So Kash Patel, he claims that his team, the actual malice standard in his case is a legal layup. So help us understand what that standard is, why it is actually notoriously difficult to meet that in a case like this. Like, what do you think? What shot do they have?
Yeah, Kash Patel, because he is a public official, has to meet a higher standard for defamation. Defamation is a false statement that causes you reputational harm. But if you're a public official, you have to show something called actual malice, which, Savannah, is the worst named legal principle in American history because it totally confuses people. It has nothing to do with actual and nothing to do with malice in the sense that people are being mean. It has to do with a reckless disregard of the truth. In other words, the standard is that the truth was right there for you to see, and you ignored obvious indicators that this may be false. And that's why this is going to be a very difficult standard for him to meet, for really two main reasons. Number one, the article is sourced. Yes, they weren't not willing to go on the record, but it is sourced. Their point, Patel's point that, hey, we told them this was false. That doesn't mean anything. In fact, the article included their denials. And when you include denials in a way, as a journalist, you're insulating yourself even more. You're saying, here's what the other side says. They deny it. But here's what our reporting says. So that makes it difficult. And then as I look through the complaint, the statements aren't really any kind of, to me, that hard statement that is a statement of fact. They really feel like statements of opinion. For example, drinking to excess. What is excess? Drinking to excess for you is probably different than drinking to excess for an NFL lineman, for example. It has to do, it's chemistry, it has to do with body type. So what is drinking to excess? It's not a hard statement the way saying someone is a criminal or a fraudster. That is an example of defamation per se. These sound more like squishy feelings of opinion.
So they can't reach that standard of actual malice, which sounds like is going to be quite difficult for them to do. Do they have other recourse if they're essentially upset about this article?
They can be upset about it, but suing for defamation, this is why defamation is often talked about but rarely actually filed, because it is difficult to prove and it's expensive to prove. Now, that may not mean much to Kash Patel. And ultimately, this may be just about a PR move to say, hey, I deny this. Not only do I deny this, but I'm filing a lawsuit to deny this. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't go the distance, and you can expect that the defendants are going to file a motion to dismiss just based on the allegations and complaint, that some of them at least may just be expressions of opinion, which are always protected. Well, I shouldn't say always. You can't say, in my opinion, so-and-so's a criminal. That's just masking it with the in my opinion language. But here, saying that someone drinks to excess, that's not really a hard fact. So it's going to be very difficult to prove that they even have a defamatory statement to begin with.
So you're kind of touching on this, but how do you imagine the Atlantic approaches this?
First, they're going to file motions to dismiss, motions to challenge the allegations. Now, in a defamation case, as they have done here, you list all the statements that you find offensive. So you'll probably see a motion to at least chop out some of those. But also, I'll expect to see a motion to actually challenge the entire complaint itself. In addition, if this ever gets to discovery, that could be mutually assured destruction for Kash Patel. Imagine discovery where it's like, well, how many Jell-O shooters did you have that night, sir? That's the kind of thing that isn't going to be great either way on the record.
All right. Danny Savalos, fascinating. Thank you so much. Well, let's get to the weather now and take a look outside. We're here in New York. It's unfortunately feeling more like mid-February than late April. Much of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast could see possible record lows this morning. We've got to look at what to expect. When can things warm up with our Morning News Now weather, a.k.a. where we submit our complaints to Miss Angie Lastman. Hey.
Keep them coming. I've got complaints too, Savannah. Honestly, I'm ready too for us to kind of get into that warmth and stay there. Unfortunately, that's not the case for folks waking up across the Appalachians and into parts of the Northeast this morning. A whole lot of freeze alerts so far, and we've got temperatures kind of sitting into the 20s and low 30s. We likely will see some of these record lows fall for this date here by the time the morning is over. Right now, 35 in New York City, 36 for Boston, Williamsport ending up at 26 degrees. We've got 30 in Buffalo, and even some teens up in parts of upstate New York. So you get the picture. We are running below normal for that chunk of the country, at least for a little while longer. That goes for this afternoon. 54 is all you're going to get for your high in New York, 64 for Norfolk. In the meantime, we've got really kind of mild and even on the warm side of things conditions across parts of the middle of the country and the Midwest. We've got 75 for Chicago, 90s across the plains, 81 degrees today in St. Louis. So some really kind of typical temperatures for this time of year in a couple of spots, but most of the country actually running above normal. We've got 83 in Denver, running more than 20 to even 30 degrees above normal tomorrow for parts of the plains. We've got 84 for Charlotte, and we've finally started to kind of moderate out for the Northeast tomorrow. Notice there's a 70 on that forecast for New York City by Thursday because the roller coaster ride continues. We get back to the 70s. We end up into the 60s by Friday, and we head into the weekend at 58 degrees. Similar story for our friends in Chicago. It's 80s on Thursday. By the time Saturday rolls around, we're into the mid 60s. And you can see that's kind of the same story that we'll be getting in Louisville as well. Otherwise, we've got a bit of rain to talk about across Texas and Louisiana. We've got some pretty impressive rain in some spots, and we are concerned about a bit of flooding with another maybe inch to 2 inches, isolated amounts of up to 3 inches possible. So we'll see some of these slow-moving cells potentially bring the flooding risk. And by tomorrow, most of that kind of winds down, except over parts of southern Louisiana, where we'll still have some pockets of rain, but at least the flood risk will be a little less.
All right. Well, it's so great that last week was gorgeous here while I was gone.
You were gone.
Yeah, and now we're back to the winter.
Let me write the complaint down.
Exactly. Thanks a lot. See you in an hour. There's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, classroom crackdown. One of the country's biggest school districts pushing for screen limits. More on the efforts that could set a standard for schools nationwide. Up first, though, after the break, a series of close calls at airports across the U.S., raising questions about safety in the skies. We'll be right back. Welcome back. On Monday, one of Mexico's most popular tourist destinations was the site of a deadly mass shooting. A gunman opened fire at a famous archaeological site yesterday before turning the gun on himself, according to authorities. One other person was killed and several others were injured in the attack. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson has the details.
Gunshots ringing out at a busy tourist site near Mexico City.
Yeah, get out of there.
People running frantically and jumping off the Teotihuacan pyramids as a barrage of bullets rained down.
Now he's climbing up.
Witnesses filming a man seen here pacing atop a pyramid, appearing to hold a gun.
Oh, they're shooting at him.
The shooter fired multiple times, investigators say, killing a Canadian woman before turning the gun on himself. 6 other people were injured. Authorities say they recovered a gun, bladed weapon, and live cartridges at the scene. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum saying the attack deeply pains us, promising a thorough investigation. Officials say the popular tourism hotspot, visited by more than 1 million people every year, is now secure after a terrifying and deadly afternoon. Priscilla Thompson, NBC News.
Well, airports across the U.S. are on high alert after several troubling incidents, including bomb threats and near misses over the weekend. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has more.
It's been a very turbulent last 72 hours for passengers after they've just seen a plane grounded in Denver because of a bomb threat. Another one on its way from Chicago to New York diverted into Pittsburgh, where there was an emergency landing also because of a bomb threat. And then a near miss in Nashville that could have been catastrophic. Jarring details about a near miss at Nashville's airport.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that off 507.
The confusion clear on air traffic control, which indicates controllers gave an arriving Southwest flight permission to execute a go-around Saturday, aborting the landing and bringing it directly into the path of a departing Southwest plane. Pilots in both aircraft taking evasive action. The FAA says the crews responded to onboard alerts to avoid a collision course. Southwest says the arriving plane approached in gusty winds and landed uneventfully. At the same time,
get away from the plane!
A series of bomb scares sowing chaos from Pittsburgh to Denver this weekend. Passengers scrambling through the cabin and rushing to the wing, sliding down to the ground, while another aircraft searched front to back.
People in bulletproof vests and helmets.
They opened all the overhead bins and we're looking inside all the overhead bins.
The latest incident stopping a plane in its tracks Sunday night in Denver.
Be advised, we're currently on the phone with a bomb threat.
These still images show the rush of late-night emergency crews as the FBI Denver said no dangerous materials were located on the aircraft.
It was terrifying, the whole experience. They put us on buses and they didn't take us away from the plane.
Just 24 hours earlier, this alarming mid-air warning came from a pilot on a United flight from Chicago to New York.
We got an issue up here. We're getting a sequential beeping suspected item on board. We're going to have to start treating this as a potential bomb.
There were no reported injuries. United saying only that the plane landed in Pittsburgh to address a potential security concern. And we mentioned those onboard alerts. Technology in this case is basically the last line of defense, and it saved the day here. Planes are equipped with a collision avoidance system called TCAS that when the aircraft gets too close in proximity, dangerously close, they will send out an alert. That's what happened in this case. The pilot was able to take action in time, and something far worse was avoided. Sam Brock, NBC News. Back to you.
All right, Sam, thank you. Well, coming up, fighting the stigma of infertility. Millions of people struggling in silence while trying to conceive, with misinformation making the situation even more difficult. When we come back, a candid conversation with our friend and fertility expert, Dr. Lucky Sekhon. What you need to know is next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. It's National Infertility Awareness Week. Infertility is more common than a lot of us realize. It affects 1 in 6 couples worldwide, and the causes are totally varied. Age, lifestyle, medical conditions, environmental factors, they can all contribute to infertility. Some experts say stigma and lack of awareness even ends up delaying people getting the care that they need. Fertility expert and my good friend, Dr. Lucky Sekhon, is here with more on this. She's a double board certified reproductive endocrinologist and OBGYN at RMA New York Fertility Clinic. She's also the author of The Lucky Egg, This is the textbook that y'all need if you have any questions on this. Dr. Seacon, good morning.
Hi.
Great to see you. We didn't even plan our matching purple bandana look. I love it so much. Okay, so we have had so many conversations over the course of you treating me and us being here on the show together. And really, so much of this is just about the fact that this affects so many people, but there's so much misinformation out there, which then leads people to not seek the care that they need, not want to talk about it, feel embarrassed, can't get past the stigma of it. What are some of these misconceptions that people believe about infertility that stops them getting that care?
Well, at the top of the list is the shame and the self-blame that I see in my patients every day. I'm here to tell you I've treated thousands of patients, and I've never seen a single case that I can simplistically draw back to something someone didn't or didn't do. And I think that it's really important because we are bombarded with marketing around formulas and supplements and courses that make people feel like this is fully in my control. And while that might feel good at the outset, it also has this backlash effect where it makes you feel like you're in your predicament because you didn't do those things. It's not to say that lifestyle doesn't matter and we just throw up our hands and say, you know, this is completely out of our control, but we can think about it really holistically. Anything better for heart health tends to be better for your fertility. It doesn't have to be complicated when you think about healthy diet, moving your body, getting enough sleep. These are all things that can have cardiovascular consequences, and it very much has been shown to improve your fertility to just take care of your body and control chronic health conditions and maintain a healthy weight.
It feels like there is this fine line, though, because, and we've talked about this, there's this concept now, it's even being called trimester zero, where it's like, and I think it puts so much responsibility on the woman especially, but there is actually a lot of information on social media right now, even for men, about like all this stuff to do before you even try to conceive, and basically give you this to-do list that makes you be like, well, if I don't do this, and we don't get pregnant, then that's why, and it was my fault. So what should people be thinking about in their 30s and even 40s for fertility health?
Well, I think even if you feel far removed from being ready to start a family, which a lot of people do in their 30s nowadays, it's still important to think about it and prioritize what your personal goals are, because I see so many women where they're like, time just feels like it passed me by as I was, you know, trying to follow my professional aspirations, and there is this biological clock. So I think having a roadmap and thinking, hey, if I could find myself in my mid to late 30s wanting to have children, even if it's baby number 2 or 3, maybe I should talk to a fertility doctor about how to be strategic. And the biggest number one thing is pay attention to your cycles. Your menstrual cycles can be a clue to your general health and to your underlying fertility. A lot of people are walking around with conditions like endometriosis, PCOS, and fibroids, and the signs were there all along. So it's really important to pay attention.
Absolutely, and that can have such an impact. And I think what I learned and what we shared on this show was that just making the decision to go sort of like get a little bit of a checkup with some indicators. Now, I know that certain things like getting a blood draw, getting an ultrasound, it can't guarantee whether or not you're going to get pregnant, but it does give you a good baseline. When should women and men, importantly, be thinking about any type of testing?
I think in our 20s or even early 30s, everyone could benefit from having at least one pelvic ultrasound just as a screening test. That's not a public health guideline, but it's something that I think as a fertility expert could be helpful. And I think that if you're trying to get pregnant, it's never too early to get a checkup. If there's anything that concerns you, if you're under 35, you could try for up to a year because human reproduction is inefficient and it can take a long time and many tries to get there. But if you're over 35, don't wait longer than 6 months. And I know this sounds maybe a little bit alarmist, but it's not. If you're in your 40s, I would seek expert help even at the 3-month mark.
Wow. What about freezing eggs? Is there an answer to like how young is too young?
Well, in theory, the younger the better, because we are born with all the eggs we're ever going to have and we don't have repair mechanisms. But the reality is not a whole lot is changing with our biological clock in our early 20s, in our 20s to our early 30s. So I think, you know, even 25 to 32 is the sweet spot because it does take a certain level of maturity. It is a process, as you know from going through it, that you're expected to show up at the clinic a lot and take injections. So I think really, you know, your mid-20s to early 30s is the answer I give most people.
What do you think about how much we're seeing women in their late 30s or early 40s being ready to conceive then?
I mean, it's not shocking to me. I personally experienced that. I had my first child at 34, and then I decided to freeze embryos with my husband, and I ended up needing to rely on those in my late 30s, which was not surprising to me because this is a pattern we see all the time. Secondary infertility often can be because of the effects of the biological clock. So it's something that we're seeing a lot more of because people just aren't ready you know,
Right.
and they're waiting longer.
And now we have science that can help still make it happen.
Exactly.
Dr. Sikhan, always great to see you here or at the at your office. Thank you so much. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Well, it's time now for our weekly mental health check-in. This week, we're discussing an executive order signed by President Trump aimed at helping veterans' mental health. Plus, a new study may explain why some days you feel like you can accomplish anything, and other days it's tough to get anything done. Joining us this week is Dr. Robbie Ludwig. She's a psychotherapist and host of the Pivot with Robbie Ludwig podcast. Dr. Robbie, always great to see you. So let's start with this executive order that President Trump signed just over the weekend. It speeds up reviews of certain psychedelic drugs. What benefits do some people believe those types of drugs provide, especially for veterans, especially for PTSD? Have you seen any research into their use?
Yeah, so there is a lot of impressive research and money going into this research, looking at LSD, looking at MDMA, which is ecstasy or Molly, and also looking at ecstasy, I believe. So there is impressive results that they're looking at in terms of treating treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, anxiety, some OCD symptoms, and also with some end-of-life anxiety. So the study is there. It's premature to say that this is a treatment for everyone or anyone. It's still relying on FDA approval, but it's looking pretty good.
Very interesting. Okay, now I want to ask about a new study out of the UK. This is dealing with AI. We're talking about it all the time. I know people are dealing with it at their job, and this really sees that people who rely on AI may end up losing confidence in their own work. But then people who maybe used AI but then changed or modified those AI suggestions, they had more confidence in their work. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, so it was interesting. It's how you use AI affects your level of self-competency. For those that used AI and didn't edit it and just accepted whatever AI fed them, felt less confident in their work. It's almost like having somebody else do your homework for you. You don't feel that sense of ownership. But for those who used AI as a tool and would edit it and would ask questions and put their spin on the final product, felt confidence and a stronger sense of agency. And that's the way we're really meant to use AI. So it's all in how you use it. The study also found that men were more reliant on AI than women. I don't know what that means. And also we need to look at the study. But it really is important to put your stamp of approval on for whatever AI use you're using for work especially.
Finally, we've got a study from the University of Toronto. It looked at why some days it feels like you can get everything done, other days you struggle to get anything done. Walk us through what people need to know here. Why does this happen?
So there are days where we are simply more mentally sharp, and this is not a moral issue. This is a physiological issue. So on days when we're feeling really on top of our game, we can accomplish 80 more hours of productive work, and these are the days that we usually feel more ambitious. But there are days when there isn't that mental sharpness, and that's due to several reasons: not getting enough sleep, sometimes depression or depressed moods can impact how we experience our efficacy, and also burnout. So we want to look at all of those factors when we're looking at wanting to produce our best.
All right, Dr. Robbie Ludwig, always good to have you. Thank you.
Good to be.
Coming up, a new era at Apple is about to begin. The tech giant announcing a shakeup at the top as CEO Tim Cook prepares to step down. More on the moves in your Money Minute. Plus, she did it again. We'll talk to the winner of this year's Boston Marathon about her incredible back-to-back feat. That's next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. Let's get to a major push in Los Angeles to limit screen time for students. The country's second largest school district is expected to pass a resolution that will ban the use of laptops and iPads in school for younger kids and set time limits for older students. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz is in Los Angeles, and she joins us with more. Liz, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. Yeah, LA is going to be the largest school district in the country to make a change like this. And it comes after months of mounting pressure from parents worried about the effects of technology on their kids in the classroom.
This is a scene playing out in nearly every classroom across the country. Screen time in school, in many cases, starting before kids can even read.
I'm afraid for our kids.
But in Los Angeles this morning, a major parent-led change in the works. The LA Unified School District expected to become the first major school district in the country to curb screen time, pushing instead for more assignments using pen and paper.
My hope is that we kind of reset the relationship with technology.
If passed, the new policy will ban the use of devices for students under second grade and set recommended screen time limits for all other grades, including no screens during recess for middle and elementary school students. School board member Nick Melvoin says it will also restrict student access to YouTube, at issue controlling autoplay and ads.
I'm in classrooms every week where 5-year-olds are on their devices all day, 9-year-olds are on YouTube going down weird algorithmic paths.
That reality sparking parents to push back.
This technology is not making our kids' education better. It's making them unwell.
Kate Brody joined the Schools Beyond Screens movement, saying she was concerned about her son's daily iPad time in his first grade classroom.
What behavioral changes did you notice in your son?
He has kind of an obsessive, almost like addictive relationship with technology. And since we've pulled away, he is much more self-sufficient.
Experts say schools nationwide ramped up the use of digital teaching tools during COVID, but now there's little research to show its benefits.
The research is thin and mostly unflattering. Either there's really no effect or we have negative effects.
LA Unified says in part that the district's approach emphasizes screen value over screen time and that devices are used to enhance learning.
It's about preserving the intentional time for kids to be kids during the school day.
Now, nationwide, a few smaller school districts and even some states, including Utah, Alabama, and Virginia, have also enacted screen time rules. And the movement, it is growing. School Beyond Screens, the group started here in LA, says chapters of their group are now opening up across the country. Savannah.
All right, Liz, thank you so much. Let's get you some money headlines now, starting with a major shakeup at the center of Apple. NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal has our Money Minute. Hey, Ali, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. That's right, an end of an era here. The tech giant naming longtime executive John Ternus as its next CEO. Ternus has been with Apple since 2001, playing a key role in products like the iPhone and the AirPods. He'll take over in September, with current chief Tim Cook ending a 15-year run that saw Apple's value surge into the trillions. But don't worry, Cook won't be going too far, transitioning instead to executive chairman. And speaking of changes within tech, Adobe is rolling out new agents for businesses. The tools are designed to automate things like marketing and customer engagement and are all part of a broader push that includes partnerships with more than 30 companies, including OpenAI and Anthropic. Adobe is trying to stay ahead of fast-moving AI competition, with questions growing over whether traditional software can keep up. And finally, from tech to tables, Red Lobster is bringing back its famous endless shrimp deal for the first time since its 2024 bankruptcy, but this time with some limits. So the promotion will only be offered for a limited time at participating locations and will also be restricted to dine-in only after the original version helped drive the company into financial trouble. The deal also seems to start at $24.99 in some areas. At least that's according to some advertisements viewed by the Wall Street Journal, and that's $5 higher than its previous iteration. So hopefully the fact that it's a little more expensive, that it's only for a limited time at participating locations, that won't mean bankruptcy round 2. But Red Lobster saying that the fans were asking for it.
Yeah, they certainly have been, even though they swore they would never do it again. So it's very interesting. All right, thanks, Allie.
Of course.
Coming up on Morning News Now, an age-old game getting a brand new life in the competitive space.
It's elbow movements. You can actually see what somebody's going to throw out if you pay attention.
Paper first.
Why?
I read it was better.
I was feeling very papery, and she just happened to be there with the scissors. I didn't see that coming.
We'll show you the strategy and psychology behind the rock, paper, scissors revival after the break. Welcome back. Let's head up to Boston, where Patriots Day ended with several incredible finishes in one of the world's most prestigious races. More than 30,000 participants crossed the iconic finish line on Boylston Street to complete the 130th Boston Marathon yesterday. But it was Kenyan runners John Courier and Sharon Lokedi who stole headlines after they both won the race for the second consecutive year. Lokedi defended her title with a blistering time of 2 hours, 18 minutes, and 51 seconds. That now stands as the second fastest winning time in race history for women's. Get this, it comes after she set the course record herself in last year's Boston Marathon. This morning, we are lucky to be joined by the queen of Boston herself, Sharon Lokedi. Sharon, so great to have you with us. A huge congratulations. And I learned something. I heard that you realized that you forgot your watch while you were on the bus heading to the starting line. So I'm wondering, take us back to the moments before the race. How much does that affect you? How concerned about that were you? Tell us how it was to get going.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I noticed pretty early on the bus, but we found the watch also pretty early, so it didn't really affect me as much. I tried not to really think about it or focus about it because I was about to run the Boston Marathon, so that was the biggest thing I had to think about. But yeah, it was really nice that we got someone to help us with it, and the race went well. So grateful for the support and help of the person that helped us with the watch.
Just incredible. By the way, mile time of about 5 minutes, 17 seconds. That is just like truly mind blowing. I don't think I can run like a 12-minute mile or something, which probably sounds crazy to you, but I just can't believe it. What is running this race? What does Boston mean to you, especially after setting the course record last year and now you're right behind only yourself?
It means a lot. I remember last year crossing the finish line. I'm like, wow, I've achieved so much. This is one of the greatest marathon in history. So to be able to win the first time and then now to be able to win the second time, that's very special. And I'm very grateful for the support of my teammates and my company and everyone. And, I get to, like last year I celebrated with my mother. This year around, she was not here, but she was still present in spirit. And, I get to maybe award her this win for just, being there and being my support system all through.
Sharon, I know yesterday you said that you learned something new about yourself after each race. What did you learn after this win?
Yeah. Well, this one, I was like, you can put yourself out there, trust your instinct and believe, because I took the lead and I didn't really know if I had it. But the longer I kept going, I was like, okay, I think I can keep this pace for as long as, the remaining kilometers. So I think it's just realizing every time that you still got something, even when you think you don't.
Oh my gosh, I love hearing that so much. Are you already thinking about what to achieve next, or are you letting yourself just enjoy this?
Well, yesterday was more about enjoying, and maybe half of today, but later on in the evening, yes, it will probably be like, okay, so what next? It's always is about you want to celebrate, but you're also thinking, okay, I was able to achieve that. What else do I have for myself? So you're just thinking bigger and bigger as you go. So.
Sharon Lokedi, thank you so much. Congratulations yet again. Just superhuman, incredible. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to end this hour with a game as old as time, rock, paper, scissors. But this playground pastime is actually a competitive sport. Now, the game was founded thousands of years ago, and since then it's been played by kids, adults, even on TV. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung went to a tournament to test out his skills.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
It's a game of strategy and chance. With simple rules. Rock beats scissors, paper beats rock, scissors beats paper. A playground pastime passed down through generations, from the classic to seemingly endless variations.
That's fire. Beats everything.
Oh, really? Does it beat water balloon?
But did you know, according to the World Rock, Paper, Scissors Association, it goes back more than 2,000 years to ancient China, where the original game, called Shou Shi Ling, is said to have included 3 animals: a frog, a snake, and a centipede. In Japan, it evolved to a fox, village headsman, and hunter. And finally, to today's modern hand signals, now played by billions worldwide and beyond.
It appears they are going with rock, paper, scissors.
But make no mistake, for some, it's a sport, with real tournaments like this one at Notre Dame.
3, 2, 1, rock, paper, scissors, shoot!
And in China, where 10,000 people competed in the largest rock, paper, scissors tournament back in 2019. That's right. Before attending a local tournament myself, I spent over 15 minutes mastering the art of throwing rock, paper, and scissors. As ready as I'd ever be, I headed to New Jersey. Here, the state lottery is hosting hundreds of rock, paper, scissors enthusiasts vying for a $10,000 grand prize.
I'm trying to win. It's $10,000 on the line, man.
Get that paper, and then can I pull it? What's this? Is this a secret one? This one has a typo. What's the typo?
Don't throw rock.
Don't throw rock. I think people get it, but yeah, we can do a little spell check. The rules are strictly enforced.
Paper looks like this.
Okay.
This is the one that people mess up a lot. I want to make sure their paper looks like mine, with their palm flat and their fingers together.
Tell me about the mask first.
It was in case all else fails, put on the mask.
Some players saying it's a game of psychology.
It's based on their previous throw, the odds of what the next throw will be, and whether they're going in order through rock, paper, scissors, which most people will do.
It's elbow movements. You can actually see what somebody's gonna throw out if you pay attention.
Paper first.
Why?
I read it was better. I read everybody does rock first.
Others say there isn't any one winning strategy.
Whatever came out of my hand came out.
No strategy. Whatever my hand shows, it shows. I'm Italian, so they talk.
We had it tied 2-2, but I was feeling very papery, and she just happened to be there with the scissors. I didn't see that coming.
What's that postseason prep going to look like for you?
Yeah, honestly, the grind never stops. Honestly, me and Coach have talked about it. We need more forearm grips, a lot more chin-ups.
After 3 days of competition, beating 383 people on the way, 29-year-old veterinary assistant Julio Rivera emerged victorious. So you have no strategy. It's just...
my gut. Wasn't the heart, it was the gut. Rock, 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 until paper.
Now, it was my time to suit up and take on the current champion.
Regular pace?
The tension building. My heart racing.
3-1. 4.
But here's the thing. He keeps the money either way. So
Fine. You get the big.
I get a participation trophy. I got it. I beat the first. Let's go. Brian Chung, NBC News.
Wow. Just wow. Brian, so impressive. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thank you for starting your Tuesday with us. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe's off today, so it's just us. Right now on Morning News Now, straight talk. VP JD Vance expected to be on the move this morning, heading to Pakistan for another round of peace negotiations. But will Iran come to the table with just hours to go until that fragile ceasefire deal expires? We'll bring you the latest. Also this morning, the war of words brewing in Washington. Why FBI Director Kash Patel is now taking the Atlantic to court over some serious allegations that excessive drinking is putting his job on the line. Plus, another giant leap for NASA following in the footsteps of that historic Artemis 2 mission. The jaw-dropping preparations already underway for humankind's return to the moon as soon as next year. And pressing pause, why some experts say the simple sound of silence could actually do your brain more good than flooding it with hours of music or podcasts while you work. You're going to want to listen up later in the hour. We're going to start this hour, though, of course, with the latest out of the Middle East, with that short-term ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran set to expire tomorrow. Vice President JD Vance is expected to head to Pakistan today ahead of a second round of possible peace talks with Iran. And while Mr. Vance and the U.S. delegation are ready to renew talks, it is unclear if Iran will send their own team of negotiators. This morning, Iranian state media reports that no delegation from Iran has traveled to Pakistan so far for those potential talks. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Keir Simmons joins us now with the latest from Islamabad, Pakistan. Keir, good morning.
Hey there, good day to you. The Iranians are just a short flight away from here in Islamabad, but today, the Iranian foreign minister writing that its delegation has not yet left, and multiple Iranian officials insisting they will not negotiate under threats.
This morning, with the end of the ceasefire looming, President Trump still pushing for negotiations with Iran.
They're going to negotiate, and if they don't, they're going to see problems like they've never seen before.
U.S. officials, including Vice President Vance, expected to travel to Pakistan today. But the situation is delicate, and Iran's participation still in question. Iran says so far, no decision has been made.
We're on the brink of a deal, and if not, the president as commander-in-chief still has a number of options at his disposal that he's unafraid to use.
But the man who led Iran's delegation for the first face-to-face talks here in Islamabad, posting a defiant message. We do not accept negotiations under the shadow of threats, and over the past 2 weeks, we have prepared to reveal new cards on the battlefield. While President Trump writing, he will not rush the United States into making a deal that is not as good as it could have been. The president telling The Hill website he is not being urged by Pakistan's mediators to lift his blockade around the Strait of Hormuz.
You are entering an area of a military blockade.
New video shows the US military continuing to enforce the shutdown, and CENTCOM releasing more images of an Iranian container ship it fired on and seized Sunday, an act Iran called piracy. This morning, marine traffic data shows a dozen ships transited the strait in the past 24 hours, far below pre-war levels, with all eyes now on the potential negotiations.
Meanwhile, what may be an important diplomatic intervention, China's President Xi, after a call with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, saying in a statement, quote, the Strait of Hormuz should maintain normal passage.
All right, Keir, thank you very much. Well, a legal battle is brewing in Washington. FBI Director Kash Patel is suing the publication The Atlantic after the news outlet published a story last week alleging that Patel engages in excessive drinking that has put his job on the line. NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us with the latest. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Taking a page out of President Trump's own playbook, the FBI director is channeling his anger at the media into a 19-page lawsuit. He claims a story by The Atlantic was an effort to drive him out of his job.
This morning, the FBI director, known for his passion for high-contact sports, stepping into a bruising new fight with the media.
You want to attack my character? Come at me. Bring it on. I'll see you in court.
Patel filed a lawsuit seeking an eye-popping $250 million against the Atlantic Monthly Group for what he calls a sweeping, malicious, and defamatory hit piece. On April 17th, The Atlantic reported that bouts of excessive drinking affected Patel's ability to serve as director, including multiple occasions in the past year where The Atlantic reported his security detail had difficulty waking Patel, and a request for breaching equipment was made. Patel's suit labeled that account pure fantasy and stated that breaching equipment is provided to all FBI protection details. The Atlantic article cites anonymous sources, described as more than 24 people, including current and former FBI officials. Patel did face scrutiny over this display, downing a beer alongside the gold medal-winning U.S. hockey team. At the time, he called it extremely humbling to celebrate with the boys.
I'm not going anywhere.
The White House says Patel remains a critical player.
FBI Director Kash Patel, wonderful guy, actually.
In the suit, Patel defends his leadership at the FBI and its accomplishments fighting crime. The Atlantic responded, calling the defamation claim a meritless lawsuit, adding, "We stand by our reporting on Kash Patel."
The Atlantic piece also includes an account of Patel being unable to access the FBI internal computer system this month, and at the time told allies he had feared he had already been fired. The FBI says there was a technical issue, but claims that problem was quickly resolved. Savannah?
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. Well, the FBI also says it's joining the effort to investigate a string of deaths and disappearances involving at least 10 top government scientists. It comes as members of Congress are now asking to be briefed on those cases. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with the latest on this one. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Those 10 American scientists have either gone missing or have been found dead, all in less than 3 years. It's prompting all types of conspiracy theories. And now federal investigators and top lawmakers are looking to get to the bottom of it.
This morning, members of Congress are set to take on a deepening mystery after at least 10 American scientists, all with ties to U.S. nuclear or space research programs, have died or disappeared.
It does appear that there's a high possibility that something sinister is taking place here.
On Monday, the House Oversight Committee saying it will investigate the string of incidents, writing, if the reports are accurate, these deaths and disappearances may represent a grave threat to U.S. national security. It comes just days after the FBI launched its own probe. The agency telling NBC News it is working with the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, and state and local law enforcement to find answers. President Trump even said he was briefed on the matter last week.
I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half.
The mysterious deaths and disappearances began in 2023 when Michael David Hicks, a scientist who worked with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, died at the age of 59. With no cause of death publicly released. Between 2024 and 2025, 7 other scientists were reportedly killed or went missing, including 60-year-old NASA engineer Monica Reza, who vanished while on a hike near Los Angeles. And earlier this year,
my husband is missing.
William Neal McCaskill, a 68-year-old retired Air Force general, disappeared after authorities say he left his Albuquerque home on foot. The wave of deaths and disappearances sparking a slew of suspicion and conspiracy theories online.
This is not just a coincidence, it's absolutely a pattern.
Now, the cases are getting even more attention as federal investigators and lawmakers look for a potential link.
And it's unclear how long the investigations could take to complete, though a senior FBI official says it will likely take longer than the week and a half the president suggested. Savannah?
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Well, the Supreme Court has taken up a new case on religious rights claims. On Monday, the court agreed to hear arguments from Catholic preschools in Colorado that don't allow entry to families with LGBTQ children or parents. The preschools in the Denver area argue they should be allowed to join a publicly funded state program, and the state is violating their religious rights by excluding them. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News senior Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley. Lawrence, good morning. Always great to have you with us. Just start by walking us through who's involved in this case and what the issues are here.
Yeah, so this case was brought by the Archdiocese of Denver in Colorado, as well as 2 individual plaintiffs who are parents who want to send their kids to state-funded Catholic preschools. And they're making this religious rights argument, something we've seen quite a lot in recent years, that the failure of the state to have some kind of exemption to its anti-discrimination provision violates their religious rights. And this is all based on the fact that the Catholic Church, obviously its religious doctrine, does not recognize transgender status, also opposes same-sex relationships. And so the state's anti-discrimination provision says you can't discriminate on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. So there's clearly a tension there, and this case is going to resolve that.
What's at the center here of the Archdiocese's argument?
Yeah, so this comes back to a quite important Supreme Court decision from 1990 called Employment Division versus Smith. This was a case actually written by conservative Justice Antonin Scalia that kind of was a setback for conservative religious rights activists, because the court there said that if a law passed by a state is generally applicable, meaning it applies equally to everyone, kind of like taxes or something like that, you can't get a religious exemption to it. But in recent years, the court has kind of pushed back on that a little bit and said, well, if the law in question has other exemptions for secular reasons, that can mean that religious people should be able to get an exemption as well. And that's kind of what this case will be probing.
Lawrence, the Supreme Court has a 6-3 conservative majority. How have they ruled on similar cases? You touched on a little bit of this, but when it pits anti-discrimination arguments against religious principles.
Yeah, I'm sure people might be able to remember a couple of these cases recently, most of which actually come out of Colorado, including the case about the baker who refused to make a cake for a same-sex couple. But perhaps the most important case in terms of this one is a case from 2021 in which the court ruled against the city of Philadelphia in favor of the Catholic Church in another Catholic Church case, where the city wasn't allowing Catholic groups to participate in the city's foster care program for the same reason, which was because of the opposition to same-sex couples. So that's a clear sign of where this case might be going too.
All right, Lawrence Hurley, thanks as always. Well, now for the latest on these chilly temperatures covering the mid-Atlantic to the northeast. Let's get a closer look with your Morning News Now weather. Angie Glassman, ugh.
Don't worry, Savannah. It's really the last kind of chilly day that we're going to see, at least for this week, across this region. We do, though, however, have some quite bitter conditions. We're waking up to some of these freeze alerts, and you can see we've got a whole lot of locations with record lows likely. This morning, we're into the 30s and low 30s for a lot of spots. New York City at 37, Boston at 39. Charleston sitting at 33 degrees. So not typical for this time of year. We're going to run below normal, not just this morning, but even into the afternoon across parts of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, with just 54 for New York City. Everybody else that you see on this map, though, running above normal. So it's 70s in Chicago, 85 across the plains, 90 degrees in North Platte today. Feeling like summer there, feeling like winter here across parts of the Northeast. And we kind of start to see things moderating out in some spots for tomorrow. What I mean is the Northeast won't be quite as chilly. We're going to slowly start to see us kind of rebound back to typical temperatures. The rest of what you see, though, is going to be above normal, kind of for the long haul. We've still got Kansas City running at 76 degrees for tomorrow, upper 70s for Cincinnati and Little Rock, 90s across parts of northern Texas, and 80s for folks across the Rockies. By the time we get closer to the end of the work week, we're going to slowly start to see some of these locations kind of moderating out into those 80s. Louisville, Thursday and Friday, both into the low 80s, upper 70s by Saturday. Notice New York City tops out into the 70s, so feeling a little bit more like spring both Thursday and Friday for the city. Upper 50s, though, by the time Saturday rolls around. So you get the picture. We've got some warmth on the way, but we've got to deal with one more chilly morning across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic for now. Otherwise, it's a little soggy across Texas. Specifically, we're going to see some of this rain kind of working across this region into Oklahoma City and Louisiana. We do have the potential to see these be kind of slow movers, so that always leaves us with concern for flooding. It'll be likely isolated, but we could pick up maybe 1 to 2 additional inches of rain across this region, not just today, but into tomorrow as well. So the flooding concern will be there as well as we get into your Wednesday. And a look ahead to Thursday, just a heads up, because 'tis the season. We've got 7 million people under these threats for potentially strong to severe storms across parts of the plains and the Midwest. So we will look ahead to that on Thursday, Savannah.
I like how you're like, good news, it's the last one this week.
Just listen, I did put away my thick coats.
Yeah,
so that
last
just
week
gives you a
thought
sign.
we were done with this.
Here's the thing. I'm doing the best I can. No. Yeah, we think that this really is winter's last gasp.
Okay. There's so much rain.
Famous last words.
All right. Thanks, Angie.
You got it.
There's more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the royal celebrations underway this morning on what would have been Queen Elizabeth's 100th birthday. First, though, after the break, NASA's next giant leap toward its return to the moon. Our first look at the rocket core of Artemis 3. That is next. Stay with us. We're back now with just the latest step in NASA's efforts to once again put humans back on our moon's surface. It was only just over a week ago when Artemis 2, they splashed back down here to Earth after that successful mission into deep space. But NASA is already gearing up for its next major launch that will include a critical test ahead of its planned return to the moon. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us with the very latest on this one. Sam, this is exciting. Good morning.
It is incredible. Good morning, Savannah, that we're having this conversation again.
I know.
This just happened 2 weeks ago. But within the last 24 hours, NASA unveiling what they called, Savannah, the backbone for the future Artemis 3 mission set for next year. The largest section of the Space Launch Rocket System is built in New Orleans. Right now, it's en route to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, all of it part of an aggressive timeline to send astronauts back to the moon with the ultimate goal of building a permanent base on the lunar surface.
Splashdown confirmed.
Just back from the far side of the moon, preparations are already underway for the next Artemis mission to take flight.
Artemis 3, we are ready for bigger and better things.
NASA unveiling the largest section of the agency's Space Launch System rocket that will take 4 astronauts and their Orion spacecraft into orbit for the Artemis 3 mission sometime in 2027. The goal, to test docking with lunar landers made by private companies SpaceX and Blue Origin, who are vying to be part of the mission. The plan calls for NASA returning astronauts back to the lunar surface in early 2028, and if successful, then back to start work on a permanent moon base later that year. Former astronaut Mike Massimino says the timeline could be achievable with some key developments.
Not only do you need a lander, but I think we're all assuming you're going to get out of the spaceship after you land it and walk around a little bit. And to do that, you need a spacesuit, and they don't have that either.
Humanity's next great voyage begins.
But NASA's still flying high after the first humans completed a lunar flyby in more than 50 years.
Sending 4 humans 250,000 miles away is a Herculean effort, and we are now just realizing the gravity of that.
Millions watching the crew's every move, captivated by the incredible images they took and their journey back home, reuniting with family, and even practicing walking on Earth again. The Artemis crew reflecting on the global response to their mission with Al.
The idea that you're working together to bring something that's bigger than all 4 of you.
We spent a lot of time, learning to work together, and we invested so much in mental, physical, not just technical preparation, and I think it's just amazing that people resonated with that.
Sure did. Now, one important point to make about Artemis 3 is that it's going to be sticking to near-Earth orbit, closer to the International Space Station, as opposed to traveling into deep space like this last mission just did. As for those spacesuits, Savannah, NASA says the ones the astronauts use on the ISS were designed more than 50 years ago and haven't undergone a major redesign in 2 decades. If the new suits are delayed, the timeline to return to the moon will also be delayed, which is why it is such a top priority right now.
And how long, I guess 2 things. How long does it take to make a spacesuit? And just how important are these spacesuits to what they're able to do?
To tackle the second part of your question, Mike Massimino, that former astronaut, said, it's like you have the space shuttle, and it's like the suit is your shuttle once you get off of the shuttle.
Like a personal shuttle.
You're walking around, right? It is keeping you alive, allowing for functionality. Without the spacesuit, you got nothing. And then in terms of the first question, there were 2 contractors, one working on new suits for the ISS, one working on moon suits for this mission. One of the contractors dropped out and basically said, we can't produce in time for what NASA needs. So now you're down to 1 contractor having to produce these suits. And the reality is the projections, according to historical delays, they wouldn't be ready until 2031, according to NASA's Inspector General report. That would be a bit of a problem for the timeline.
No kidding. Wow. All right, Sam, thank you so much. Still exciting stuff there, but that's of concern. Thanks, Sam. All right, the UK is honoring one of the most iconic figures in modern history today. This morning, the royal family is leading celebrations for Queen Elizabeth II on what would have been her 100th birthday. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdin is live in London with more on the festivities. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. A beautiful day in London for once. And the UK is remembering Her late Majesty in so many ways. But of course, leading the commemorations is her son, King Charles, with this video address.
What would have been my beloved mother's 100th birthday.
This morning, King Charles delivering a personal message, honoring his late mother, Britain's longest reigning monarch. Through nearly a century of remarkable change, there she was, a symbol of continuity and duty.
She remained constant, steadfast, and wholly devoted to the people she served.
As the king and his wife get ready for their state visit to the United States, he also hinted the late queen would have been concerned by events in today's world.
Much about the times we now live in, I suspect, may have troubled her deeply.
She lived through decades of turbulence and moments of peace, the young princess committing to service from a young age.
Shall be devoted to your service.
Rising to the throne at just 25, her steady presence still felt across generations. And now, the country marking her 100th birthday, with tributes pouring in online and projects in her honor. A newly created Queen Elizabeth Trust will support community spaces. And just steps away from Buckingham Palace, a statue of a young Queen Elizabeth dressed in formal attire will stand as a lasting tribute.
Why is this very spot so significant?
You've got Queen Victoria, you've got the King's father and mother just down there. It's very much the sort of ceremonial part of London.
This historic landmark will transform to honor her.
We're trying to have a space that people can remember and reflect on the Queen's life.
The King leading the nation in remembering Elizabeth not just for her leadership, but for her warmth and wit.
That marvellous twinkle of the eye when sharing a marmalade sandwich with Paddington Bear.
I keep mine in here.
A touching moment that lives on, along with her legacy.
God bless you, darling Mama. You remain forever in our hearts and prayers.
And such is her enduring impact that they did a poll last week that found that 81% of people still had a positive opinion of her, more so than any other member of the royal family. Savannah.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much. Well, coming up, a new executive order from the White House that's raising some eyebrows this morning. When we come back, why the Trump administration is fast-tracking reviews of certain psychedelic drugs with America's veterans in mind. That's next on Morning News Now. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with the latest member of President Trump's cabinet to resign during his second term. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us now with that and other headlines from Washington. Megan, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, let's start with that latest cabinet shakeup. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez-DeRemer announced her resignation yesterday. It comes as she was facing an investigation by the Department Inspector General for potential misconduct. Her lawyer, though, said in a statement that she was not resigning because of legal wrongdoings, saying instead that it was a personal decision. The now former secretary thanked President Trump in a post to X and said, quote, "I'm looking forward to what the future has in store as I depart for the private sector." Next, let's head to Florida, where a former Trump campaign lawyer will lead a federal investigation into former federal officials who investigated President Trump. That information was confirmed to NBC News by a Justice Department official. Joe DeGenova is spearheading the so-called grand conspiracy investigation and will be using a grand jury that's based out of a court run by a Trump appointee. DeGenova has previously spread false claims about the 2020 election, which former President Joe Biden won. Finally, let's go to Capitol Hill, where Republican Representative Nancy Mace introduced a resolution to expel fellow Republican Representative Corey Mills. The House Ethics Committee is currently investigating Mills over allegations of potential sexual misconduct, dating violence, and campaign finance violations. Mills has denied any wrongdoing. He responded in a post to X last night, challenging her to call the vote and criticizing her for, quote, ignoring due process. House Speaker Mike Johnson weighed in yesterday, telling reporters that House Republicans trying to expel each other is not something that he encourages. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Savannah?
All right, Megan, thank you so much. Well, let's stay in Washington. President Trump is directing his administration to speed up reviews of certain psychedelic drugs. He says it's a move aimed at helping veterans. NBC News correspondent Julie Sirkin has more.
No, you're not hallucinating.
These experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential.
President Trump signed an executive order on Saturday speeding up reviews of certain psychedelic drugs, easing restrictions for medical research on psilocybin or magic mushrooms and ibogaine, a natural psychoactive drug. Even joking he'd be open to trying them.
Can I have some, please? I'll take some.
Popular podcaster Joe Rogan says he helped push the president on the issue.
I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it.
It's a far cry from the 1970s, when Richard Nixon declared war on drugs.
Public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
While psychedelic drugs remain banned federally, some states and localities have decriminalized possession and use, though researchers say there are serious potential safety risks. But a growing movement of veterans and advocates have pushed for more research into the drug's potential medical benefits. Professor Alex Kwan studies psychedelics and their effect on the brain at Cornell University.
If you think back into the 1970s and 1980s, I think these drugs are viewed negatively, but I think some of that could be not fully warranted, and I think now we're seeing more research and science into these drugs to explore their potential positive benefits.
News some combat veterans like Joshua Wall are glad to hear.
Spent time in both Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wall says he turned to the VA when he returned home in 2009. He was suffering from PTSD and spinal injuries.
I proceeded to go ahead and get on all the various medications that the VA prescribed to me. Tried that for over a period of 2 years, and it made me a shell of a human being.
10 years later, the husband and dad tried microdosing on mushrooms.
Would you say that psilocybin healed you?
Very much so.
Do you know veterans personally whose lives have been saved by psychedelics?
Yes, hundreds and hundreds.
Veteran suicide rates are 58% higher than the general population. Wall says he hopes this new research push could bring that number down dramatically.
We just got tired of losing people. We had the ability to say, hey, this is something that worked for me, and we can help you get better.
Our thanks to Julie Sirkin for that report. While the FDA commissioner says a decision on allowing use of the drugs could be made by this summer. And if you or someone you know is struggling, you can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's on your screen right there, and it is just 988. Well, coming up, can the sweet, sweet sounds of silence actually be good for your mental health? When Morning News Now returns, why some experts say constant listening during the day, like music, podcasts, audiobooks, could be just as harmful as too much screen time. We're going to tune into some new research up next. We're back with some of the biggest financial headlines of the morning, including Amazon's multi-billion-dollar AI bet. NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal has our Money Minute. Hey, Ali.
Hey, Savannah, that's right. The AI arms race just continues here. More and more money pouring in. Amazon says it plans to invest up to $25 billion more into Anthropic. That's the AI startup behind the cloud chatbot. The investment would be on top of the $8 billion Amazon has already put into the company, as Anthropic commits to spending more than $100 billion on Amazon's cloud technologies over the next decade. And a surprising twist in the media world. The satirical news site The Onion is moving to take over InfoWars. That's the controversial platform founded by right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. Now, this would be under a proposed licensing deal pending court approval. The deal would have The Onion's parent company pay about $81,000 a month to run the site. It's all part of the ongoing bankruptcy case surrounding Jones. And finally, the end of an all-you-can-eat era in Vegas. The MGM Grand Buffet is set to close at the end of May as casino buffets continue to disappear post-pandemic. Once a staple of the Strip, only a handful of traditional buffets will remain. I believe the number is 7. I guess this makes sense. But, yeah. You know, unless you're going to like 3 in the morning or really late night, then I could see that buffet being a lucrative option for you.
That's true. Maybe that's just what they should do.
Yeah, maybe just shift to late night. Because I think they close at 3 p.m. And I was like, I don't know.
That's actually such a good point.
Yeah.
Love it.
Late
All
night.
right. Ali, thank you. Well, they say silence is golden, and now there's some new research that might back that up. A new survey revealed that Americans listen to nearly 4 hours of audio every day. That includes radio, podcasts, and streaming music. But that time does not include audiobooks and certain YouTube videos. But experts are warning that long periods of uninterrupted listening can actually be harmful to our mental health. They say it's better to take breaks and just try to sit in silence. For more on this survey, I'm joined now by freelance journalist Jenny Singer. Jenny, good morning. Jenny, great to see you. First of all, I'm just feeling very validated by this reporting because I can't stand AirPods, and when people are whenever you call somebody and they're using AirPods, it feels like there's always an issue with them connecting or whatever. So I don't really use them very much. I'm surprised to hear, though, that it actually might be something that's good for me. And I know you did some in-depth reporting about listening habits for the Washington Post, and experts you spoke to said that this really can be just as habit-forming, was the term that was in there, as screen time. So what are the risks here of consuming too much audio?
Sure. So one thing I can note is that it's not all created equal. If you're listening to some classical or some new wave music, that could be fine for your concentration. One problem is that if you're listening to something on a smartphone or a computer where you can just listen to anything at any moment, have that instant gratification, it's releasing dopamine the same way any kind of screen use is. So that's one thing. It can be habit forming, like you said. Another thing is that it doesn't allow our brains to relax if we have input coming all the time. We want to let our brains go into what's called the default mode network. That lets us be creative, that lets us have a sense of self. And we really don't get that if we have audio input all the time.
It's such a good point. Some people listen to music or podcasts, though, kind of like they say to help them focus, actually, to help them get work done, whether that's like just around the house or actually at their job. So how can somebody kind of tell, maybe if I'm listening too much, I should cut back, or if they do feel like, I don't know, it kind of helps me in some way?
Sure, I think it can absolutely be helpful. Many people I talked to and psychologists said that it can be sort of incentivizing to have this entertainment while you're doing something like folding laundry. That's great. The problem comes when you can't turn it off and feel anything other than irritable, anxious, or the number one feeling is intensely bored, because you're really having kind of a come down from that constant dopamine release.
If people do want to try and listen to less audio, how can they do that?
I talked to a psychologist who works with teenagers on their screen use, and he said that you can just take 3 days off. Try to not do audio, not do screens, but also not do kind of anything that's habit forming, like drinking, etc. Try things like puzzles, getting outside, spending time with other people. Try to replace that behavior with something that is potentially more engaging and enjoyable. Then when you're listening again, add in some breaks between your listening time, and just try really connecting with people and see if that can engage you more deeply than audio or screens.
You mentioned this, but I just want to know a little bit more about like the benefit of when you do have that time of silence. Like, I was fascinated in your reporting. I think somebody had told you, like, you know, I used to have this bike commute in the morning to work, and I actually came up with ideas for shows that I was producing because I was just sitting in silence versus spending that 40 minutes listening to audio and really just tuning into somebody else rather than tuning into yourself. How much did you learn about that?
Yeah, so I talked to psychologist Dr. Gloria Mark, who told me that the brain goes into what's called the default mode network. And when we listen to any kind of audio that's distracting at all, we're not in that state of rest. So if you think about sort of getting up and instantly turning on the radio and then turning on music for your commute and then turning on a podcast, you're limiting your time in that network to perhaps only when you're in the shower or only when you're about to fall asleep. And that's just really not enough time. And we know audio can be educational and delightful and moving, but we don't want to limit that time too much.
All right, Jenny Singer, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Really fascinating stuff and something for people to think about today and maybe not listen to today. So we appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, we're finding some common ground ahead of America's 250th birthday. After the break, today's Jenna Bush Hager goes one-on-one with each of the 4 surviving U.S. presidents for an exclusive celebration of the Stars and Stripes and a message about our future. That's next. We end this hour with some very special interviews. Today's Jenna Bush Hager sat down with each of the 4 former U.S. presidents who are living, President Biden, President Obama, President Clinton, and her father, President Bush, for their reflections ahead of America's 250th anniversary in July. It's part of NBC News' Common Ground initiative aimed at bringing people together in search of solutions to the challenges we face across the country. She joins us now with some of those conversations. Jenna, good morning.
Hey there. The former presidents were gathered in Philadelphia at a private event hosted by the History Channel called History Talks in partnership with our parent company, Comcast. I caught up with each of the former presidents on the sidelines of this event. We talked about what inspired their service to the country, their legacies, and asked them to share their messages to the American people honoring our country's historic anniversary.
I, William Jefferson Clinton.
It's a time-honored tradition, 250 years strong.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
The American people electing their leaders.
I, Barack Hussein Obama.
presidents, an indelible mark on our nation's history.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
Serving their country, the highest office in the land. Hi, Dad. What's it like to be part of the ex-president club?
Well, it can be boring when we're all together. No, it's an honor. There's a great camaraderie because we all shared something special.
Our nation's leaders each carrying the weight of those promises and the ideals of our founding fathers. There's a weight of the presidency that few can understand.
You understand it.
I understand it.
I found that people were ready to help. I was a senator for a long time, been in that building a lot of times.
Yes.
36 years as a senator, and then 8 years as vice president. And it was an opportunity to be able to focus on the things that I thought needed to happen.
What was your favorite part about being the president?
You get to meet the widest possible cross-section of the American people. You know, every corner of this country is just full of really amazing, hardworking, decent people. And getting that broad overview of who we are as Americans, it made me much less cynical. It made me less prone to think there's an us and a they.
For some, that inspiration came from the very place they would one day call home, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. At 16 years old, you walked into the White House and met then President JFK. What did that moment do to inspire a 16-year-old kid from Hope, Arkansas, to want a life in service?
It had a huge impression on me. It made me realize that a president, even on a bad day, can do something good for somebody. That's what I took out of it. I just couldn't believe he was spending all that time with us. Everybody says when you become president that they remember it, blah, blah, blah. And that I knew when I was standing in the Rose Garden that I was going to be there someday. That's just not true.
You couldn't have even imagined it at 16.
I thought I wanted to be a United States Senator from Arkansas. I did dream of doing that. I never dreamed I'd be president.
What were you most grateful for about the experience of being president of the United States?
Well, I just was the greatest honor of my life, or any American's life. The idea that a kid from Scranton, Pennsylvania, we weren't poor, but we're a middle-class guy, could, used to have a stutter, could end up being president of the United States. It's just kind of a story of what America's all about.
These formers, as they are called, remembered for leading our country through some of our greatest challenges. What do you think was the most historically significant moment of your presidency?
9/11.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
I think historians will analyze that day, America's response after that day. It was a reminder that the human condition elsewhere matters to the security of this country. It mattered then, and it now matters now, by the way. And but I think people want to know how the country responded, and it was overwhelming volunteerism, starting with the military. It was an outpouring of patriotism. We can recapture that. I hope it doesn't require a crisis, but it's still latent in the American soul.
Your presidency was a historic one. You were the first Black president of our country. What do you think the history books are going to look back and say?
It's very hard for us to judge our place in history. That's up to other people. I can speak about what an extraordinary honor it was to serve the American people. I can speak to how inspired I was to hear the stories of folks out there who were doing wonderful things in their communities, helping each other out, being good neighbors. Maybe one thing I am proud of is the fact that I think we upheld the integrity and the honor of the office, and how we conducted ourselves and how we ran our administration.
What are you most grateful for all your years of service and your time as president?
I am grateful that I had a chance to do what President Kennedy said everyone should want to do, to make maximum use of the talents God gave me and to do it in a way that benefited other people. You know, you can get up every day, no matter how bad it is, you can make something good happen for somebody. And that is a gift beyond imagining.
How do you hope the history books see your service?
Well, I hope it's not unlike I see your dad's and your grandfather's service, as generated by making sure everybody got a shot. My dad used to say, look, Joey, everyone's entitled to a shot. No guarantee. Everyone's entitled to a shot, guarantee.
250 years later,
That's one small step for man.
a nation tested,
I have a dream today.
and a democracy that endures. You ran on a simple yet effective principle, which was hope.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that hope in our country?
I do. You know, the first time I was on the national stage and I talked about hope,
Hope in the face of difficulty.
I reminded people hope is not blind optimism.
The audacity of hope.
Hope arises in the face of difficulty, in the face of uncertainty. And obviously we're going through some uncertain times. But when you look at the sweep of American history, we've gone through rough patches. And we tend to come out on the other side of them stronger.
Family members can't sit across from one another and debate.
Well, we can.
We can.
Yeah.
And we have
Right.
for a long time.
Yes, we have.
But what can help us bring us back to each other?
Well, I think one of the things about the 250th is a chance to focus on the common good and the wonders of this country, the history of this country, the fact that you can worship freely without government tell you how to worship, the fact that you can speak in the public square without being jailed, the fact that we have a press that's willing to hold the powerful to account. I mean, these are all things that should and generally do unite us. I am not concerned about the long-term health of our country because I've studied enough history to know that we've been through the periods of intense anger and intense rivalry of ideas. But the beauty about democracy, Jen, is that it's self-correcting. And one of the key things I'm going to try to do during the 250th is encourage citizens to participate in the process. And if you don't like what's going on, vote. And that's how America heals itself.
I'm not sure we're as divided as we portrayed. I'm sure there's anywhere from 15 to 30% of the people who are on the one end here. But I think the vast majority of people are coming around to conclude that, you know, those things that they don't even think about it directly, but the safeguards in the Constitution. I think people are beginning to realize they're sort of being trampled on right now. So I'm hopeful that people are going to begin to say, whoa, we got to slow this thing up. We're coming to the 250th anniversary of the country, and for me, I think it reminds people that democracies depend on certain basic rules.
In 1993, when you became president, my grandfather left you a letter. What did that letter mean?
It meant the world because it basically said, we had a tough campaign. It's over. You won. And I wish you well because you're all our president now. And your success is America's and every American's. So I really wish you well. I kept that letter close at hand for years after I read it. I was just so touched by it. And then when your dad was elected, I wrote him a letter that said basically the same thing.
What do you think we can learn from that in this moment in history?
That America is bigger than anybody's personal hopes and dreams.
For the American people, sometimes it's the smallest gestures that have the biggest impact.
I get a little antsy, as I'm sure you know. And I was sitting next to Michelle. That's what happened. That's who I sit next to at funerals. And I was kind of teasing her and stuff, and I slipped her an Altoid. Not as a joke, but I thought she might want one. And I got in the car afterwards and you said, "You're trending." I didn't know what trending meant. And it turns out the country is starved to see a white center-right Republican and a African-American center-left Democrat having fun and being able to converse, not as political figures, but as citizens. And I intend to continue to try to do that.
Our next chapter filled with the same passion and determination on all sides to hold close to the principles that built America and made her strong. As we're celebrating 250 years of our democracy, what message do you have to Americans?
Remember what's best in us. The basic principle upon which this country was founded, which is we don't have rulers, we don't have kings or monarchs or aristocracies, we have citizens. And if we hold true to that idea, that we the people have been gifted this chance of self-government, if we pay attention to our responsibilities and our duties, and if we extend respect and thoughtfulness to our fellow citizens, even if we disagree with them, if we understand that part of this democratic project is to sort through our differences in peaceful, legal ways, then I'm confident that we're going to have another 250-year run that's going to be just as good.
The country will survive as much by the process, by the freedom to speak, by the freedom to vote, by the freedom to be active in politics, as by any particular issue. And because it's like it is, compromise is essential.
We're the most unique country in the world. The most unique country in the world in the sense that we really do think democracy is dictated by the rules of the Constitution. And we do believe, and we act, and when we do well, that all men are created equal.
My message is consider yourself fortunate to be a part of a great nation. Study our history so you have a better sense for what the future will be like. And be a citizen, not a spectator. And by that, I mean participate in the process, but also love a neighbor like you'd like to be loved yourself. See, one of the beauties of this country is that there are thousands and thousands of citizens who volunteer on a daily basis to help somebody in need. They're often not heralded, but they make a huge difference one person at a time. And I would hope people will take a look at our history and realize we're an imperfect nation trying to be more perfect, but be optimistic about the future of the country.
The History Talks event traditionally features former presidents discussing history. We should note the History Channel is working with President Trump on an America 250 project, which they plan to announce later this spring. Back to you guys.
All right, Jenna, thank you so much. What incredible conversations. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Don't go anywhere, though. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.